have things been the last, so we haven't seen each other in about 2 weeks, right?
It's been 2 weeks, yeah.
So how have things been?
Not the greatest.
Yeah?
No, they've been, with my thesis coming up 1 month from now, I feel like the last 2 weeks have just been so, I've just been so overwhelmed and anxious, and I haven't done any work, and every time I try to get work done, I haven't been successful. So.
Okay. What happens when you do try to get work done?
I just get these racing thoughts in my head, because I just know that my thesis is so soon, and I don't have time to I can't change the date. I have to do it then, and that stresses me out like no other. And then it's my thesis. It's such a big project.
Absolutely.
And I'm just scared I won't be able to finish it. I'm scared I won't be good enough. And it's just the stress is so overwhelming, and I have all these racing thoughts, and I just can't focus. I can't.
Yeah. So from what I remember, it's due in a month, right? Yeah, that's when you have to submit it.
It's in 1 month. I'm defending my thesis in 1 month. Yeah.
Okay. And it sounds to me like that's really where all of your anxiety is coming from here. Are you experiencing anxiety about anything else, or is it all about the thesis?
No, it's this thesis.
Which you said last time is how you'd experienced anxiety before, right?
Yeah, I've had anxiety before, but it's always when it comes to school-related things, and that's when it gets worse. That's when it gets unbearable. It's just knowing that I have this huge submission that at the end of the month, knowing that I have to do it very well, and just that expectation, and knowing that I'm not doing any work right now either, that's not helping. These last 2 weeks are a complete write-off, and it's still so soon.
Yeah. So you're worried that you won't be able to get it done, and you're worried that it won't be good enough if you do get it done. Okay. That sounds like a pretty common fear. It just sounds like maybe your response to it has really been causing a lot of stress for you. Yeah, that's fair.
A lot of stress.
Yeah. So the last time we met, we did that little assessment, the Beck Inventory. Do you remember doing that?
I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So when we look at that, the reason we do it really is just to see what your experiences of anxiety are right now, and to see if they change over time. When we did it, you came up with very high. Yeah, your score was a 36, which we categorize as severe. And really what that tells me is your experiences of anxiety are affecting you all day, really every day, and they're very intense. This isn't a mild anxiety, and this isn't like a small part of your life. It sounds like right now it's a pretty big and all-consuming part of your life. Is that fair?
Yeah, I can't sleep at night. I'm always just thinking about this thesis, thinking about everything that I should be doing, but I'm not doing any of it because of this anxiety.
Yeah. So, could we talk a little bit about how you spend your day, just so I can maybe get a bit of an understanding of it?
Yeah, sure.
Is it okay if I write it down?
Yeah, of course. So normally I would wake up in the morning. I find that I'm the most productive in the morning. So wake up, get a cup of coffee, and I would hit the library for a few hours in the morning just to hammer some things out, and then I would have lunch. I would usually go to a few meetings in the afternoon, and sometimes when I get home I would do some yoga, some running, watch some TV in bed. I've been trying to get to the library, but I haven't been productive at all the last 2 weeks.
So you go, but when you go, it's not productive?
I'm just staring at a page. I'm just staring and thinking and not thinking, and it's just so encompassing, overwhelming.
And what time are you getting up around?
Like 7 in the morning.
7 a.m. Do you practice anxiety?
I mean, now it's particularly bad. I've always had a history of anxiety a little bit, and I've always liked to go for runs, or sometimes even the yoga helps. But right now I find that my mind is just I have so many racing thoughts. I can't bring myself to that state of mind for yoga, and I'm just no motivation to go for running either. Because I feel like I have to always be doing work, but I'm not doing any work.
Do you ever run, like, in the past 2 weeks, how many times have you run?
None.
Okay. Before that, is that a recent change that you slowed down the running?
It's since I've become more and more stressed about my thesis, because I feel like I should be spending time working that more than running yoga, but I'm thinking about it just makes me more stressed, so it's just this constant cycle almost.
Does anything else alleviate your anxiety? Do you ever talk to a friend, or
no, not
watch
really.
TV help? No? Okay. So, from what I've heard, you have a lot of the stress is the problem. And when we look at problems like this, or anything that interrupts your daily routines and your ability to do your work, we can really look at solving the problem two ways. We can either look at problem-focused solutions, so that's like trying to find a way to change the problem, which would be maybe you're changing the schoolwork or something like that, or changing emotions. And it doesn't sound like you'd be very interested in addressing any of the thesis-related stuff, because
that's happening.
Yeah, and that's a very important goal, which is very fair, and you've worked a really long time to get there. I also think that sometimes they can take a while to resolve, and you don't have a huge amount of time. So I think a goal for us, if you're okay with it, is to try and find ways that you can cope in the moment and look at more of the emotion side of things. Because I think if we could get your stress down and your anxiety down, you'd be able to focus more on your thesis, and it would solve all of the things at once. Do you think that's fair?
100%.
Yeah.
I just don't know how.
Which is fair, and that's why we're here, so we can kind of try and come up with some solutions. The other thing with that is we can either look at long-term coping techniques, or things that would take longer for you to work, or short-term immediate things. And I feel like the short-term immediate things are what you need. So because of that, and because I think I would like to find a solution that is about you being able to focus in the moment and that would work right away, I'd like to try something called mindfulness. Have you ever heard of using mindfulness?
I've heard of the term mindfulness. I've never used, I guess yoga is a mindful practice, but I've never just done mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a mindful practice, and a lot of things can be. What it really is about is kind of being able to focus in the moment and give your attention to the moment, to recognize what emotions you have, and to feel a little bit more grounded and in that moment, so that all of these other things that are going on aren't affecting you as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So focusing in on the moment.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make my anxiety worse though, because I'm focusing on that?
Sometimes, but what we know from kind of the research, and what we know from other people who experience anxiety, and it's a very fair and real thing to experience anxiety from schoolwork, that sometimes the emotions get so heightened that we're actually not even able to focus on the actual schoolwork, which kind of sounds like your experience. Does that?
Yeah, I can relate to that.
You can relate to that. So kind of the way I kind of think about it is that your schoolwork's here, and you're getting so anxious, you're getting way up here, and you're not really able to focus on it. So we know, like from all of the research about mindfulness, is that using these techniques can help increase your focus and decrease your stress. And I think that combination is really conducive to working on something that's really a kind of knowledge-based, like a thesis. Is that fair? Okay. Is this something that you would like to try?
I don't even know what sort of, apart from yoga.
Okay. So there's quite a few ways that we can do it. Like I said, I'd like to give you something that you could use in the moment. And so I always like to start with something kind of, one of the basic things, which is breathing, because it's kind of a building block to doing other kinds of mindfulness activities or other kind of stress reduction tools. I feel like it would work pretty well for you because you do yoga, you have been a runner before. And so the way it would work would be we do something called square breathing. I can show you here on a piece of paper. I'm going to show you how it works, and then we're going to practice it together a few times, and then we'll talk about whether or not it's something that you'd like to use, and if not, that's totally okay. We'll find something else for you, okay? Okay. So the way I always talk about square breathing, and we do this when kids like 3 to 103, pen on, is if you picture a square, this side of the square, I'll draw the square first, is breathing in. This side of the square you hold. This side of the square is breathing out. You hold. Okay. And you just repeat that a few times. We're going to repeat it. We're going to try it together, if that's okay. Okay. Probably for about a minute, 30 seconds. We'll just try it 4 times and see if it works. And then when you're at home, it's something you can kind of visualize whenever you really need to calm down that square, and just breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding, breathing in, holding. Repetition cycle. I think we can start with 4 seconds on each side.
Okay.
If you want to make it longer, that's totally up to you, and you can practice getting it longer if you want to. If you want to just start with 4 seconds, that's okay too.
Okay.
So would you like to practice that?
Sure.
Okay, so let's just get comfortable on chairs. And you can decide if you want to have your eyes open, your eyes shut, whatever really works for you.
Okay.
It's all about you being able to focus and be comfortable, so don't worry about me at all, okay? So we're going to start. Ready? All right, so I'm going to get you to breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, and hold. And in. Hold. Out. Hold. And in. And out. And hold. So that last one went a little bit awry.
It's like, yeah, okay.
But how did that feel?
That felt good.
Yeah, is it something that you would use?
When should I use it? When would it be best for me to use something like that when I'm just feeling very overwhelmed?
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell me how it felt to be doing that?
I felt very grounded breathing, and I felt like I could focus. I was so focused on those 4 seconds, breathing in, breathing and holding, that it was hard for me to pay attention to anything else apart from that deep breathing. That was good.
Do you think you'd be able to lead yourself through it?
Maybe with practice. Yeah.
So we know that it's good to practice it before you feel a lot of stress, because it kind of teaches your body that once you start experiencing that a little bit more, once you're more experienced in doing that, and once your body kind of knows that cue of doing that, then it's able to calm down more quickly. So we encourage people to practice it for a few minutes, like sometimes up to 5 minutes, when they wake up in the morning. And I was thinking that if you were able to do that, if you were able to do 5 minutes before you got your puff and stuff like that, the feelings of being grounded might last until you get to the library. And then you could use it throughout the day, really, when you start to feel anxiety coming on. And so for this week, I think a good goal, you can tell me how you feel about it, would be to just do it in the morning, and then when you feel you need it, and then maybe we'll talk about next week, and if it's helpful or if it's not helpful enough, we could talk about things like setting a reminder on your phone to do it, or practicing it on the bus, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
How do you
That's a
think
good
about
idea.
that?
I like how it's something that I can incorporate throughout the day, because my anxiety isn't just a specific time, it's throughout the day. So being able to use something that can help me that way, and something that's pretty easy to be done anyway, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful. I could try that.
Would it be more helpful for you to, do you think, to do it in the morning or in the evening, or when you get home, or what would
I
be?
think I want to be productive again, so I feel like maybe the mornings right before I start.
That kind of fits your goals the best, hey?
Maybe.
Okay. Do you mind if we write out a goal for that, just so that I have it and we're able to reference it next week? Okay.
Is that when we're seeing each other next week?
Well, I think that would be a good idea, just because you're kind of on this really crunch deadline. If you feel like you have time and you feel like it would be helpful, I'd like to see you next week just to see how this is going, because you have a new tool and because your thesis is coming up, and I'd like to see you get on track.
Okay.
Is that too soon?
No, that's okay.
Not soon enough?
I think maybe I could call you if I don't find it working in the next few days, because I really need to get started on this thesis.
Would you like me to call you in a few days?
Sure.
Okay, why don't I call you, today's Monday, why don't I call you on Thursday?
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Okay, so if we were to write this as a goal, have Sara will practice, and I'll give this to you so you have a copy. We call it square breathing.
Square breathing, okay.
in the morning,
Okay.
before you go to do work on your thesis.
Yeah.
So before going to the library. Is that where you work?
Yeah.
Yeah. In order to decrease anxiety and increase focus. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't mean you can't do it whenever you feel like you might be needing it, and the more you practice it, really the more it's gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like that's an okay start?
I think that's a good start, and
Okay.
I'm glad that we'll be able to follow up with each other and see how it goes. But
Yeah, we will. So I think today, if we look at what we did, we talked about the Beck Anxiety Inventory. I'm optimistic about us being on a track that's going to work. And so in a few weeks, I'm going to redo that inventory and see if your anxiety has gone down.
Okay.
We talked about how you spend your day, and we did identify some ways that you have been coping, that you've coped in the past. We introduced mindfulness, and we talked about square breathing and set a goal around it. So if in the future, I just want you to know that if these things aren't working as well, there's other things that we can revisit. I'd like to revisit the running and the yoga, just because we know that exercise, especially the aerobic stuff like running, is really good for anxiety, but I also don't want to disrupt your schedule too much when you have all of the stuff going on and your deadlines kind of looming. So I'll leave it in your hands, but if you want to talk about that next time, we can.
Okay.
And we can, we can really talk about all sorts of different kind of tools if the tool that we talked about this week didn't work. So we can introduce some more relaxation techniques, some more mindfulness techniques. We can talk about accommodations at school. We can talk about the running. We can try look at yoga and see if the yoga class would be appropriate. So we have more tools. I just think this is a really, really good start.
I agree.
Okay. And I'm gonna call you on Thursday, and we'll see each other next week.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Hannah.